Good evening. Namaste. COVID-19 is a black swan event. Black swan event is undirected, unexpected, and unpredicted events, discoveries, and accomplishments in science, history, and arts. In order to cope with a black swan event, organizations need to build robustness against negative events while exploiting positive events. It is also a time for an organization to reflect on where one stands in global scenario. In this line, the webinar series have been planned to learn from the best and share our own experiences. Inner engineering is what is needed in this odd hour. And the more we work on our inner self, more productivity is achieved at this point of time. We continue to refine ourselves in the new normal and the skills which are required for post-COVID era. The title of today's webinar is Crossing Over to the Online Learning Platform. Please help me welcome our key resource person, Dr. Purnima Panduranga Kundapur. Dr. Kundapur completed her bachelor's in computer science in 1994, followed by her master's in computer applications in 2001. She was awarded her doctorate in philosophy from Manipal Academy of Higher Education in 2013. She is presently working as an associate professor in Department of Computer Applications, Manipal Institute of Technology, Manipal. She has over 15 years of experience for undergraduate as well as postgraduate teaching. Apart from her teaching and research commitments, she takes keen interest in mentoring student-driven software development projects that help them to understand the importance of learning or working with design and development constraints in building solutions for real-world scenario problems. She is a FAMER 2018 Fellow of the prestigious MAHE FAMER Fellowship Program. Please help me welcome Dr. Purnima Kundapur. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Remal, and that was a very nice introduction. I'm glad to be a part of this esteemed forum. I would like to thank Dr. Remal, like I said, of WP Koirala Institute of Health Sciences for organizing this evening's talk and for having me as the resource person for today's session. She mentioned quite a few points about the current scenario of COVID-19 and the situation where we educators are finding ourselves today. And so given that information, we're all aware that technology can be a very powerful tool for transforming learning. It can help assert and advance relationships between educators and students. It will also help us reinvent our approaches to learning and collaboration, which is the need of the hour. It will help us reduce long-standing equity and accessibility gaps. It will also help us adapt learning experiences to meet the needs of teachers and students alike. So today's talk is in the direction which points towards engaging and empowering learning through online technology. And therefore, the title of this talk is Crossing Over to Online Learning Platforms from the Traditional Offline Approach. I believe I'm addressing esteemed members of the health professions educators from our neighboring countries of Nepal and Bhutan and some other invitees. So it is definitely a privilege for me to share some of my knowledge with all of you. These are experimental options that I have gone through, I've tried working with. So I'll try to present it in a very simple manner as possible. I hope you will have something to take home after the talk, which is something I'm looking forward to. Now at this juncture, it is very important to fully realize the benefits of technology in our education system and to provide the students, our stakeholders, authentic learning experience. Educators need to understand technology and to use technology effectively. The important word or the key word here, which I emphasize, is effective use of technology in their practice. So having said that, I think it's only apt for me to start with the presentation. So just to give you an insight into what we're going to cover, it's a short talk is what I've been told. Therefore, I've cut it down. I'll try to finish as fast as possible. We'll look into the objectives, the orientation towards online learning, probably a few practical tips that most of you would be aware of. Those of you who are new to this will be welcome to take up these ideas. And last but not least, we can never forget to understand the challenges and probable solutions that will help us better our endeavor in our endeavor to become better educators. So the objectives of the session, as discussed with the panel, with Dr. Remal, was to understand the orientation of basic online platforms, to understand and list what are free and licensed platforms, to look at the tips for optimal utilization of these online platforms, and to discuss the challenges of using these platforms, and also to have a look at the probable solutions. So the question that all of us are asking today is, why online platform? So if you look at this, you will understand, yes, you'll understand that we're looking at online education. I mean, as given by, I'll begin with a saying. Actually, it made a lot of sense to me. Online education can serve two goals. For students who are lucky enough to have access, those who have access to internet and have great bandwidth, they look for better outcomes at a lower cost or maybe at the same cost. But there are many of us or our stakeholders who are here and abroad who lack access to good in-person education, and therefore online education or learning only opens doors that would otherwise have remained closed. And why are we discussing at this point of time, why online platform? Well, as Dr. Remal already mentioned, it is, of course, the scenario that has forced all of us to move on to platforms that will continue the transformation, digital transformation of traditional approach to a more modern technical approach or technology-oriented approach. And you know the reason, of course, is COVID-19. So just to put things into perspective, COVID-19 has had a staggering impact on global education. You can see how many schools have closed over the worldwide. And it really, at this point of time, just shows us that there is a need and there is a vocal representation of having online education as the way go-to method, right? So yes, why online platforms is the question we ask ourselves again and again. So I have listed down 4 options. One is, of course, as a teaching learning option required for both teaching and learning, primarily for student engagement, because we know that students are right now in the confines of their houses. They are restless. They need direction. So student engagement is a big challenge for most of us. And we know that students are not people, I mean, we have also been in that boat sometime of our lives. You know, capturing that attention span of more than 20, 30 or 25 minutes is a long drawn task. So how do we keep them engaged when they are at different locations, geographically away from us? Time and space are the parameters that don't define learning today. The next important thing is, since we are, like I said, at different places, how is it possible for us to collaborate on rich ideas, how to build new thoughts, new ideas? So online platform is the way to go ahead. Most importantly, as a teacher, we need to also receive feedback and give feedback. Instantaneous feedback is what students expect of us today, and online platforms give us that option of giving feedback instantaneously, something that we can look into. We talked about why. Now, what online platforms? So when we talk about what online platforms that are available to us, I just thought we could, categorize them into different um, formats. For example, we have the LMS, which is the learning management system. We can use slide casting. I'll talk about this in a few minutes from now. We can use video conferencing. We can do screencasting. Of course, apart from this, you have other options. Now, what I would like to emphasize at this point is that all of us need to understand that the options available are plenty. So it's not necessary to know each and everything, and it's not humanly possible to remember every option that is available. Now, when I say option, teaching online options, platforms that are available. There are so many spread across. In fact, today I was just doing a random search, I didn't give names. I found out that there were so many more which could be used, but there are some flaws in many of them. Many of them are being built instantaneously over the last few months to handle the needs that have come up in the current scenario that we're facing. So what is the first one I spoke about? LMS, which is your learning management system. Software system, basically what it does is designs a whole environment where you can create your classroom, create the course content for your classroom, design the assessment module. So it's a whole unit on its own. And most of us have been using the second one, which is video conferencing. Everyone is we're doing it right now using a very commonly used popular platform called Zoom. We have others, we'll look into those also. So video conferencing is one method that most of us are used to by now. I'm sure many of you have been using it, are experts at using it. So video conferencing is the means, it's an online synchronous method which allows you to talk to your students on an online platform. You can also get reverts from your student. So it allows you to converse. It's a two-way conversational mode. Okay, so it's generally it's very different from your lecture mode where you talk alone. Of course, the point here you need to understand is what are the features that you have to use. So there are some of us who use only the lecture mode. We need to go beyond that because again, the point is student engagement, collaboration. The third thing is slide casting. Now, the slide casting and screen casting, I've pushed two of them here. What I want to tell you is many of us are, even today, honestly, we know that many of us are right now just getting onto the bandwagon, designing the, planning online classrooms. Now, when you're doing online classes, sometimes maybe you cannot include a lot of things. So what you do is design a pre-recorded video, okay, using the tools available, and display it to send it to the students beforehand, before you go in for video conferencing. Now, when you use your PowerPoint to, you use the recording tool to show your PowerPoint slides one after the other by narrating. You can also narrate and explain your slides. You can push it across as a video, an MP4 video, send it to the students. They can read it ahead of time, which is a very good method. No, so they're ready to answer. I mean, prepared for the class. You are able to explain and also answer their queries. The second thing is screencasting. So screencasting is primarily if you want to show your entire window. So here actually you're doing something, what we're doing is basically screencasting itself live. Now here, when I talked about screencasting, I'm talking about recorded screencasting. So how do I make it look like a proper video? All of you, I'm sure, look into YouTube videos and have been amazed at how people are so well versed. They design, they develop, and they are able to bring out such wonderful videos. They also have worked through the same process of slide casting and screencasting, and everything has happened through trial and error. So those of us who are not very good at doing this can definitely learn. There's always a way to go ahead. So having said that, what are the LMS tools that are available now? I have categorized Microsoft Teams. The reason I say that is because I belong to MAHE, which is Manipal Academy of Higher Education, and Manipal Academy has Office 365 as a, they have built the, I mean, they have bought the licensed version. So all of us have a copy, have access to it. And Teams, Microsoft Teams that you can see here is my LMS tool. Now it's not a complete LMS tool in the sense that you can't do certain things like Moodle can do, but it allows you to create your entire course platform there. You can create your courses, design a classroom, send the material ahead of time, probably share videos, share blogs, share content, share PDFs. So in that sense, I think LMS tools, we can use it for assessment. So yes, so the whole gamut of all the options that come under learning management software systems are available in Teams. Now, like I mentioned some time ago, that there are so many tools available. Now, it's not necessary to know all of them. In fact, if you just, like I said, randomly Google, you get a lot of them. I'm going to list out the ones that really are used. Okay, now there's an add-on to Teams, which is called Flipgrid. Now, I happened to find this when one of my earliest scholars, research scholars, told me that there is a platform which PhD scholars use to collaborate, discuss, share videos. And Flipgrid is actually free when it comes free with Microsoft. So if you have an Office 365 ID, like an ID for Microsoft, you can actually design your Flipgrid open access tool. So that's free there. So you don't have to really worry about, oh, is it a proprietary software? Now, what do I mean by proprietary here? It is that which is licensed, like Office 365, it's licensed. It's not free.
It's free for those people who belong to the organization that has purchased it, right? So the next important open tool which is available here is your Google Classroom. I'm sure many of you have seen the videos available on how to use Google Classroom. So I did not have time to go through, I don't have time to show you each one, but probably I'll open up the screen and show you if time permits. So Google Classroom is an entire LMS tool. It's a very vast LMS tool which allows you to design your entire curriculum. You can actually transform your
traditional chat platform into an online platform completely on Google Classroom. It's very organized. We also have Moodle, which is an open source tool LMS. Many organizations use it. It's internet based. You can download the software from moodle.org. What you need to do here is to set up a server on any of your systems in your organization or in your department, and you need to give access to the people. Of course, now one important thing that all of us forget is these tools are available, but they don't come they don't come with everything pre-installed. That means you cannot have your courseware coming with it. So you have to do the work of entering your course details, including the people who have to be a part of this system, who have to share, collaborate. They could be educators, they could be teachers, they could be administrators. So that job has to be taken up by one of you in the organization. Apart from Moodle, there is one more beautiful software that I was introduced to a few years ago, but we haven't used it because I found that Teams was, we had 365, which served the purpose. And then those, years around a couple of years back, I realized we didn't think there was a need to go online, but today you realize, oh, it's necessary. So Claroline is actually a very interesting tool. If I think it's at claroline.com. I'll send you the links probably through Dr. Rimal. I'll send her the links to all these. You can have a look at it. It's a very nice tool, very similar to Moodle, but it's a web application. You can also download it, and but it is a French-based software, so you may have to translate it at points. You can just do Google Translate; it will do it. You have the English version also. It follows the UK English format. So Claroline is also a very nice platform that I've worked. In fact, today I just made a dummy classroom and I tried doing it. It is a very interesting platform. So here, there you have it. These are the ones that I thought are very useful, the LMS tools. Now, some of them are proprietary, like I said, Office 365, and some of them are free tools like you have Moodle and you have Google Classroom. So LMS is your complete environment, which includes, you can say, your course platform, your design, your content, your designing the curriculum, the courseware, everything is there. It includes the assessment, and it also includes polling options. You can actually do it via the classroom. You can send polls, you can have assignments, you can send feedback, you can have a discussion forum. Very important, because that's how we generally do it, right? In the traditional. Now, the most important thing here is that it is all mobile friendly. So you can get it on the mobile. Video conferencing tools. Now, this is something that all of us are very comfortable with, most of us, and I think everybody has used it at least once. So the video conferencing tools are those tools that allow us to communicate with our students, with our stakeholders, or with other members of your class, of your organization or your department. So let's look at the most popular video conferencing tools. Again, like I said, I listed Teams because it allows you to video conference. Also, you have Google Meet. Now, Google Meet is a web application as well as a mobile version is there. It allows you, so I think around 250 in Teams and 250 in Google. And they have made it free during the COVID era. So that's very interesting. And Zoom, of course. But we know what were the problems that most of us are facing with Zoom in terms of security measures. Google Classroom and Teams, therefore, are more a closed unit, and you don't have that many intrusions. So yes, but then Zoom is freeware, and we're using it right now. Again, mobile friendly. Now, most of us must understand that just using the Teams application can be done on a web application. You don't need to even download it. You can have the desktop version when you want to utilize all the features. Now, desktop applications, that is what you use on your laptop or your desktop, have much more features compared to the mobile, because mobile is very limited in its size, okay, and functionality, and it needs to be lightweight. So it doesn't need to eat up all the memory of your phone. Therefore, some of the features may not be available in the mobile app. You can always have both the versions. What is best about today's technology, I think I have to impress here, is that everything is in sync. We are synchronized. I will have my Teams set up on my laptop, and I can just shut it down at any point of time. And I can open up my phone, mobile phone, and I open up my Teams application on my phone, and I'm able to continue with my conversation. So that is how one click works today. So it's an amazing opportunity for all of us to make use of. Now, the question that you have to ask each of yourselves is that, where do I use what? So remember, I'm giving you options. So there are a lot of options. You have to choose which of these is useful to you. Not necessary to install all. So it's really not needed. Some of us, I today was trying it, and I ended up, my system had to reboot because I just downloaded quite a few things in the last few weeks, trying to see what is the option. So be a little careful there. Recording tools. Now, I said screencasting, casting, and of course, slide casting is there. So recording tools, I need an application that will allow me to record my entire talk, right? So I've included a few which you can use, and they're free, so you can use them. The first one I've used is Screencastify. Okay, Screencastify is an open application. Now, there is a paid version, but what the limitation of this is that it's you have both web. It's a web application. You just have to go to screencastify.org, if I'm not mistaken. I'll send you the links, and it is a Chrome extension. So that means if you have Google Chrome installed, which is your web browser, you just have to go to settings. There you can go to. You can just click on. There's an option called extensions, okay, Windows extensions. It becomes an extension, so it works along with your web browser. And what is very interesting, that I have recorded it on it, I have tried it many times, it is that it's very instantaneous. You want to probably do a very short video. Now, the thing is that like I said, the free version will allow you to store 5-minute videos. That's actually ample time for you to do a small talk. Okay, and it allows you to download it, immediately share it with people. I downloaded it on my system because I thought it's going to be, I was not really sure of my network. So I've downloaded the screenshot, the video which I made. So Screencastify is one beautiful software. It's open source and nice to use. Now, it's very lightweight, so you don't have to have the application installed on your system. The other one, which I spoke about in another webinar some time back, is OBS, which is Open Broadcast Software. Now, this application has to be downloaded on your system, and what you need to do is it sits on your system. I'll show you how it is done because I have kept it open right now. So you can record your entire application. Now, why I've used OBS is, today, I was just talking to Dr. Rimal the other day. I asked her, what are the most commonly used social media tools by your people in Nepal? So she said, of course, just like everyone else, we use FB, we use, that is Facebook, we use Instagram, we use YouTube Live. So all these are used. Now, today, if you've been noticing over the last few days on the news or in COVID time, people have been broadcasting live. They've been live streaming. So you can actually live stream directly by going to YouTube Live or going to FB Live option. But sometimes this option is not really useful to a teacher, because a teacher would want to prepare, plan, and decide how the entire class should go on. So to record a video, probably you would want to have what's called a initial opening screen. Okay, so the opening screen should say, probably you want to get yourself ready. So what you would do is you would write down, probably enter something saying like, class will commence in some time. So putting up what is called an opening screen or handing screen. You can do that and then bring yourself live, share your slides, keep yourself available on the screen so that people can see you communicate, and save that video. Okay, either save it or stream it live on FB or on YouTube. So it can be done. OBS has the interface to connect to the YouTube screen, YouTube Live option, and the FB Live option. I will be sharing all the links to how to create these OBS screens and all. I'll send it to Dr. Rimal. She probably can disperse it to everybody through their email. Now, another tool that I came up in the last month or so is called Loom. Again, a very interesting application. And actually, like Screencastify, which is a screen capture, screencasting software, it's used along with Chrome browser. With Loom, what you can do is you can capture your screen, it captures your voice, it captures your face, and instantly shares. It's very simple, in less time than even typing an email. So Loom is very interesting. You can go to loom.com, loom.com. So that's also very nice. I added one last one, though its Premier version is paid. They have opened up something for educators. So most of these options are available for educators. So Adobe Spark is actually a very fun learning environment. It allows you to do something called storytelling. That means you can design your entire class in the form of a story and plan out your structure. For health professions, I believe you need to do a lot of storytelling. You must probably you have a case study and you want to start with telling what happened before and how did you handle the scenario, what were the things that you read, maybe the diagnosis, or you were able to understand what was afflicting that person, and then you want to give your suggestions on how to handle that. So it allows you to, this Adobe Spark allows you to design this app, this whole storytelling environment on the web. Okay, it's a web application, and it's open to both Windows and iOS applications. It can be done very quickly. There's Adobe Express also. So you can create graphics, you can create posters, presentations, reports, all on Adobe Spark. So for educators, it is free. So you can use that. Now, so we talk about LMS, we talked about video conferencing tools and recording tools. So I'm just going to share a video, hopefully it works, that I made using OBS software, which I said. So this is just I don't know if you can hear it. Good evening, everyone, and your class will begin in a moment. So I just want to show that this was the opening screen. I didn't want to abruptly start and say good evening, so I just started with that. It's a recorded video, and this is the application I tested our video. We're here to talk about recording. So I'll just quickly do that. I'll just do that. COVID-19. Now, you can see me there. So, right. So you can see me sitting there on the screen at the same time while I'm teaching the class. But this is the recorded version. The same thing can be put onto YouTube Live. Okay, yes. So having said that, so you could use OBS, you could use all this. I also thought, why not talk about a little bit about social media, because that is also an option, because I talked about OBS. So you can go to YouTube Live, you can go to Facebook Live, or you can go to Instagram. At the end, I have an activity on Instagram, which you can try. I will share my Instagram handle with all of you. You can look into it. Now for YouTube Live, what you have to do is go to youtubelive.com and you can just Google YouTube Live. It'll take you there. You have to open an account. Now, usually all of you will say, okay, I don't have an account. It's not an issue, not a problem. See, because most of you are accessing YouTube with your Google account. But for YouTube Live, they need, because you're going to be using the video mode, and to ensure that security mechanisms are in place and that you're not posting anything that is inappropriate, it requires that you have to create an account with them. It'll take nearly 24, I think exactly 24 hours to set up the account. Once you're done with that, you can stream live. So using OBS. So I will try to send you a link to how to do that. The next thing is Facebook Live. How do we do that? On Facebook, again, there's an option which says create FB Live. I'll show you live on the screen if time permits me. And all you have to do is stream it live from OBS. Now you can do it without OBS also. So that's absolutely fine, which people do right now when they want to show breaking news and all that, they do it live. But for a teacher, I think there has to be an organization. You have to have a certain plan in your mind. And therefore, I feel you should have one of these screencasting tools. It could be either OBS or it could be the simple options which I showed you, Loom, or you could use Screencastify. All these could be used. Okay. Now, so like I said, use OBS to do it. Now, just to break the monotony, I have just put one activity. I'll come back to this later. So I just want to check how many of you are listening. Probably I've just asked you, can Teams be used? That is Microsoft Teams be used for meetings? So it's a rhetoric question. You don't need to put it on the chat. I'll give you a second to think about it. All I want you to see is that I've designed this entire PowerPoint presentation completely from scratch. And usually I use this kind of technique when I teach my students, because online you have to become more creative. You have to also make it very interactive. So I have thought, okay, what if I click on yes? I say, okay, you get 2 points, right? So what if I clicked on no? And no, that's not the answer. Or maybe, so we know which answer is right. So Teams definitely. So those of you who have mentally answered saying Teams can be used for meeting, kudos to all of you. Another activity, which I also thought, this you can try. Okay, I just showed you this. So I clicked on the wrong option, sorry. Yeah, so can you use OBS for offline recording? Okay, my system, what I'm using right now is a system that has the option of touch screen. So that's why when I touch my mouse, I touch the mouse, I'm using a normal mouse, or I touch the screen, it changes it's very sensitive. So I realized what went wrong there. So OBS cannot be used for offline recording. Those of you who said true, actually you should not be getting +2. So I'm telling you, so it should have been the reverse. I made a mistake. So yeah, it can be used. So the answer is it can be used for offline recording, right? So I just thought we'll have a small activity. Let's move on to the next point, which talks about the practical tips. Now, the most important thing, so Dr. Rimal asked me what are the practical tips that you can share with us when it comes to using, you know, online teaching. So what we need to understand is that there's something definitely missing when, as compared to a traditional environment, and we need to, you know, find that gap and address it. So when we're in an online platform, the most important thing that I notice is that we don't have gestures. We don't have the option of using our hands or our stance or our expressions, because many times people will be looking at your screen and not looking at you because you are explaining a term. So we don't have the option of having gestures in place, body language. Because sometimes when you ask a question in class, we get very excited and say, oh, very good. So what is it that we need to do? We have to work on our screen views. We have to work on our you know, voice. These are things that we have to really look into. So remember that we don't have the advantage of using our hands. We don't have the advantage of showing some kind of expression unless you use a full screen and they see you. Okay, so what else is missing? Now, since this is an online platform, your student or your collaborator or the person on the other end of the screen may be doing something else and you may never know it, right? Because we generally ask them to mute their videos, mute their audio, and close their videos, stop their videos. Therefore, you'll have someone who's actually texting someone. You could have someone who's probably on the call, or you could have someone who's just simply bored and not interested. So what am I coming back to right now? I'm talking about being able to keep these people engaged. So remember that it's not an easy task because the challenges are plenty. Our students know how to, and see, this is where they are not in front of you. You have no control over the situation. You can't keep calling names. So you need to really decide how to keep these people engaged. And they're a younger generation. Remember that, the millennials and the Gen Ys, Gen Zs. Okay, so how do I keep them engaged? Yeah, I will use my online tools, but what's important is I need to know my platform really well. That's when I can make up for that you know, attention span that we may not be in your favor. So remember, if you're putting up content, I just thought these options will be very useful to you. Break down your content, because this is not your classroom where you can write it on the board, if many of us are not very good at that. So what we need to do is, suppose, to keep it topic based. So you're talking about, for example, now I'm talking about content, and I've just mentioned content. Make sure you manage your time. Don't go beyond time, because as it is, these students are you know, have a very short time span, so you need to capture them in the first 25 minutes. Ensure that you use the key points. That's important. I have an example here. So all these will help help improve their retention and listening skills, as well as help them be attentive. So what do you mean by key points? Now here I have a lecture which I gave some time back, and I realized it's about cloud computing, since I'm talking from technology point of view, and it just talks about one important key point. But if you look at it, there's so much of text there. So what do I do? What happens? They lose focus. So what do I need to do? I need to identify what is the key point I'm trying to address. So you can see the ones in green, in orange are the ones I want to talk about. So I'm going to talk about that, right? So keep them engaged. How? I mentioned the most important, that there are 5 characteristics of cloud computing that they must remember. Now you've got their attention. Now go ahead and talk about on-demand, elastic, pay as you go, all the 5, so they get it. So this is how you need to do. Now, what I'm trying to say is content design is very important when you're doing online classes. Just showing you know, series of texts and showing them graphics will not work. It has to be specific to the user need. So remember key points. Okay, keeping them engaged also means modulating your voice, ensuring that your camera and your voice are in sync. Your speaker is tested much before time. And when you keep them engaged, all the content that you show should not be text only. It has to be relevant. It should support your course objectives. So text only can get a little boring at times, not saying that you can't, sometimes you have to use text. But what else can you do? Show them something. Show them something that, that appeals to them, right? So what else? Now we talked about content. Now it's like saying content is king. Okay, now why don't you tap the curiosity? So work on, bringing in some curious elements, don't make it too too much of mystery. So, this is how I would do it. Let's say you have an overview of a case. You're talking about what are the terminologies, and then you have case study, and you talk about the background of the case, what are the steps followed, what is the outcome. So for a student, it becomes a little difficult. So you want to tap their curiosity, rearrange. So change the order. You talk about the background, bring in the overview, talk about the terminology, talk about the steps, and then relate your background to your outcome. So in other words, you're actually going to bring about some level of interest in the student. Okay, so I told you make it interactive, creative, how to do it. So today I'm going to introduce some of these options. You can try it at home. I will send you the links to it, very simple. If possible, I'll try to go to the other screen and show you. There's an option called bitpaper.io and whiteboard. Now, many a time I would want to write something on the screen. Now, I'm using a touchscreen mini computer. So I have the option of doing this, which is right now not working because, I'm using, sorry. So if I want to use it, it's not enabled right now. I should enable it. Okay, so if I want to say draw a diagram or cut and paste something, how can I do that? So I can use an option called bitpaper.io, right? In bitpaper.io, you can actually see the screen. It's an empty screen. You can cut and paste from anywhere and put it on the screen. You can draw. I'll show you that screen. So let me finish this fast. Whiteboard works in the same manner. You have free versions for educators, and there is subscribed versions at very minimal rates. Okay, so if you want to use, you can. If you have a screen like mine, where you can use your touch screen. I have a pen, which is my stylus. Sometimes the stylus, I use the stylus, or I use my my finger to use it. Now, if you can't, if you want to do this to utilize this optimal use of this, it's okay that you can also invest in something called a graphics tab, which is on the right side here. So I realized this when my son was using it, and I said, oh, this is very useful to me. Now, graphic tabs tend to be a little expensive, so I'm not going to advocate using of it. But those of you who would want to use it, it's very useful. So it's a very useful option. So I'll show you a video of how I do my presentation. So you can see that. That's my PPT running, and I'm not selected it. You can see the highlighter there. And on my PPT, as I'm talking, I do this in my class. I write the equation or I write the command and I leave it there. When I save it, when I come out of it, it saves this content. So this information. So this is possible either using a stylus or, as you can see, I've done it this way. Okay, so let's just move on to the next thing. Now, the next tool, which I told you, is the graphic tablet. So the graphic tablets look like this. This is the one my son is using. So I asked him to take a video of it and show. We use the Wacom, which is one of the most standard versions. There are different sizes that will come. I think this is a 7-inch, if I'm not mistaken. The medium-sized one is a little expensive. Starting range is around 3,000 Indian rupees. You have something within 2,000 also, I remember. He uses it basically for all his engineering graphic options. So I'll just show you how it works. There is a stylus. He writes on it. It has to be connected. There are some drivers. And you can see he's writing it on the screen on OneNote. OneNote is a part of your Windows Suite, we use OneNote to create class books. Okay. Another use, I'll just show you another use. He uses his stylus to open up Word, and he types Word, W-O-R-D. Click, and you can see that it opens up Word, right? So this is a tool that allows you to, make it much more interactive. So those of you who are interested may take it up, but please look at the drivers in your system. When you buy it, please look at the specifications, hardware specifications, and your computer specifications. Compatibility matters, so please check your operating system, all that. Okay, so this is a very interesting thing that I thought is useful. So, like I mentioned, you need to interact, you need to illustrate, and only then there'll be collaboration. So I thought I'll show you this. You can have, there's an option where you can make your crosswords on the system and use your your stylus to write the answers and tell them. What else can you do? You can use polling. Now, if in Teams we have the poll option automatically, in Zoom you have it. Also in some of the applications you have. So yes, you can do the polling immediately. Or the most important thing I realized was very important over the last few days, because we are doing assessment online also. We do Viva for our class students, and I realized some of our students have very less bandwidth. They are not able to converse over the video. So I use the chat. So have a one-to-one chat for those people who cannot converse on the web or on the screen, okay, video. So that is very useful. I send them the question and they answer the questions on the chat. So this way they are not left out. So I really like that option. Okay, so moving on. Okay, we can also have what is called, for an interactive option, have audio discussion. So you can see that you should allow people to speak. With muted videos or not, it's left to you. You can talk. Now that way you get feedback, instant feedback for yourself. You're also telling them what, maybe you could ask them questions. They could come up with answers at that point of time, collaborate. And in Zoom, there's an option called break rooms. I think you can make collaborations under break rooms. Okay, what else can I do? So all your softwares, your online webinar softwares, or your video conferencing, have these icons. So allow people to use the icons to increase participation. So you have these people saying, okay, they liked it, or they didn't, they're confused, or they found it really interesting. So allow it increases participation, because our students tend to see what options are available, right? They like to test a lot of options. Okay, so having said that, what are the challenges of online teaching? So I just listed a few things which I thought are important: infrastructure and resources. And when I say infrastructure and resources, like I said, it's very important to understand that not everyone has the same bandwidth. Not everyone has fantastic web cameras. Now, people, like I know, again, students in engineering opt for very high intensive computing systems, but with low camera resolution, because they don't want the camera that much. So, you have to think about that. What are the resources? Are they able to pick up the web applications that links that you're sending? So these things are something that I think we find very difficult. Okay, digital use divide. Now this was a very interesting thing. The digital use divide I talked about is basically referring to the gap between students who have access to internet, like I said, and devices at home, and those who don't. So it's very sad that we have to deal with that scenario. Also, we have to be very practical at times. Now, the other option, I looked at it from two perspectives. The other one, a digital divide, also separates people, students, from those who can use technology in different ways to complete the same task. Okay, and those who don't know how to use it, right? They have the resources, but they don't know how to use it. So digital divide can be more formal or informal. In a formal setting, what are the things you use? In an informal setting, what are the things? So generally in low poverty schools, I was watching a video the other day on BBC where they're talking about online teaching by one of the professors of an Indian college, and how he tested the ATM style of teaching. So that is a very interesting option that I noticed. So yeah, digital use divide. Network security. big time. We are worried about attacks, online identity theft. Please think about it. It's a challenge. We see that softwares are just being downloaded. It may have a Trojan. It may have a virus embedded. We never know. So keep your antivirus always up to date. Now, the big thing that we discussed long back, passive use and active use. How many of us, the students, are using it passively? They're just listening, simply consuming the media we're giving them vis-a-vis those who are active users. The time constraints. Now we are working people, so sometimes now that I'm working from the morning to evening. So what are the time, when is the best time for me to have the class? Now we schedule it, that's correct. But sometimes maybe the network is not working and our network is not ready, or we are not, we have a lot of meetings coming up. So time constraints are something that I find is a big challenge. What are the possible solutions? Use of existing infrastructure resources, make use of what you have. Use chat or recorded videos, send URL links for those who can't access live videos. Antivirus software, learning the LMS properly, understanding the security options, it's very important. Make it very interactive. Most importantly, to handle time constraints, I can only do 20 minutes of time with students. So plan and design your study, your lecture. Okay. To summarize, I would like to say the most important things that I thought is that we need to prepare and master technology. Not all, just one, or at least one is what I feel should be done, because many a time you can't master everything, so you can't be a master of all. So ensure that you plan your prepare at least and learn one method at least. Plan your classes. See, because your students are not physically in front of you, they are in a completely different time zones. We have students who are studying at a different time zone from international students. So you can't just say, okay, I'm going to do it. No, because you're live. So you need to make sure that the needs of the students are met. You should make sure your syllabus is in place. Virtual classrooms should be designed very well. You must give the opportunity for students to appreciate your work and work by deadlines, use pop quizzes, all that. You yourself should set up a remote working environment. One room at your place or in your cabin in college should be set up, one place where you can work at peace when you're doing a webinar, no disturbances. It's very important to have a good, adequate working environment, an ideal working environment. Innovate and stimulate discussions. Online classes are different from traditional classrooms, so they have a potential to become very cold and mechanical. So you need to initiate and encourage discussions. You should use different methods. So don't just post your lectures, assign something to be reading material, come back, ask them, use the various tools of PBL, that is problem-based learning, case-based learning, try to do it, make group exercises. Most important, I think, is to be consistently online and communicate regularly. Make sure that the student, give them a time, tell them I'm available at this time and be available at that time. Because they would want, many a time I've seen my students texting me and saying, is this a good time to call you? And so I have now made a time frame where they can call me. It could be even at 9 o'clock, I say 9 to 9:15, I'm okay, or 9 to 9:30. And most importantly, all of us are in big need of this, which is to be motivated. Now, I need to motivate. Everyone is not excited to be online, right? So you need to, motivation plays a very big part in the learning process. Some students are self-motivated, but others are not. So they may have problems at home. There may be a lot of issues. So give them extra points for, when they come online, talk to them. Very interesting. So ensure that your goal is to make sure that maximum utilization of your classes by your students. Physical presence is not the way today, so virtual classrooms are to go ahead. Ask your students, I've not listed it probably, but I think you should always ask for feedback from your students. So to conclude, I think it's important to say that teachers need to integrate technology seamlessly into the curriculum instead of viewing it as an add-on, as an afterthought, or as an event. And remember, it is the future. So if you have, I thought Insta is available. So if anyone wants to check, I've put up an exercise on Instagram. Many of my students have already tested it. So you can just go into that. I've got 3 questions. They're random questions. You can think of creating a session every day on your last taught class. Ask them questions and let them answer. That's the best way to do it. So I've just kept that there. So if you anyone wants to take a screenshot of that and then try to log on to my um, handle, Instagram name tag, you can try it. It's open till tomorrow, so you can just try it. And of course, this is the future. So anywhere, anytime is what you need to be. Thank you very much. Can I just show one online tool? Just, yeah, if you don't mind, because I think the whole purpose of this is to show them. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I just want to show you, this is a tool which I used, worksheets theteacherscorner.net. Make your own crosswords, which I showed you. You can make your own crossword, okay? And this is the whiteboard. You can see I placed the crossword on the whiteboard and I can write on it. So if I want to write, I can do it. This is BitPaper, which I talked about, bitpaper.io. I'll send all the links to your all those of you who want to know about this, because time was not enough. This is the Claro line. You can see it's a very beautiful interface. The home looks like this. This is a, see, it's a French, so you can ask for a demo, you can look at it. It's got a whole set of options. It's an LMS, you can think of it. Maybe you can ask your organization. This is Adobe Spark, which I spoke about. So you can create a Spark post, a Spark video, okay? Then this is the Flipgrid, which I spoke about. I didn't include the video. Actually, I wanted to upload it. I didn't get time to do it. This is my activity, my grids. I just created a new one. The other one is actually with my scholars. This is Loom. You install the Loom or as an extension. Very easy to do it. And the one which I talked about, the Screencastify again. So you have screencastify.com. Very simple to do. You can see that. So it has a video also. You can see how to make your first recording. Everything is very self-explanatory. Okay. The last one I just wanted to show. Hold on. Just a minute. I can't see the screen there. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I'm done. So, yes. You have any questions? Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
ma'am. Now, before we go to Q&A, we are going to share two good practices. The first one is by Dr. Karishma. She is the Deputy Coordinator of MBBS Phase 1, and she will be sharing our experience at BP Kerala Institute of Health Sciences. Dr. Karishma, now the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Josna ma'am and Health Professional Education Department for conducting webinars, such wonderful webinars on such relevant topic. And also thank you once again for giving me an opportunity to share the experience of online teaching learning activity here at BPKIHS. As you all know, that COVID-19 is a global tragedy and it has changed our lives, perhaps changed everything that we used to do conventionally. And it was not until the lockdown that had set in to limit the COVID spread, the executive body and the academic body of BPKIHS had decided to start online teaching learning activity for the undergraduate programs. So our experience to online teaching is around 6 weeks old, and the software that we are using to conduct virtual classroom is Doodle. There are 4 reasons for which we are using the Doodle software. The reason one is it was the resource that was available here, since it was used initially for telemedicine purpose. The advantage of Doodle was it could be operated in low bandwidth. And another advantage of it was both mobile and laptop friendly at the receiver end. And another thing was another advantage was it allowed both synchronous and asynchronous learning. So any students who did not have access to the online classes due to poor network or due to bad electrical supply, so they could go to the offline classes. So these were the advantages. So no students could miss the class in any point. So during the course, we faced many technical issues, largely have been resolved, and still some are in the process. At present, as Punya ma'am have already mentioned about the good thing about pre-recording. So we have brought about the concept of pre-recording the class before the scheduled date, but it would be broadcasted on the D-Day only. So this has enhanced the flow of teaching without any interruptions, and also it has enhanced the interaction between teacher and student at the end of the classes. The students have been very supportive by giving us constructive feedback. They have been attending the classes, so we know now that they are well motivated to attend the classes. And another thing I like to share is we are very grateful to the telecommunications company in Nepal, both NTC and Ncell, for providing us the subsidized rate for the internet service before, like, we started the online classes. So there we had the challenge of about the finance issues to most of the students. So now, because of the schemes, we are able to give services, that is the online service, to our students. And from this week onwards, we are going to conduct online PBL sessions and student seminar. So for these sessions, we are using the different platform, that is Google Meet. And there has been limitations in conducting online practical developing exercise, practical skill developing exercise, as well as community based programs in our setup. But we are exercising and researching on it, and we are trying to see how these can be made possible for future purposes. So all in all, we had a very enhancing experience. And yes, we must say that this COVID-19 had made all of us tech savvy. And I'd like to conclude our experience by saying a word from Martin Luther King, who once said that the measure of the man is not where he stands in moments of comfort, but where he stands at times of challenges. With this, like, I like to say that maybe I have answered Dr. Bijay Mishra's question. Like, she had asked, like, what are the advantages? So, what are the there are limitations about interaction. The students cannot speak it out, but after the session is over, the student can interact by jotting down the questions, like similar here in Zoom also. I'm speaking, but I can see what the other person has in mind by looking at the chat box. So same thing can be done in Doodle also. So in that way, the interaction is possible. And also the students, if they have doubts regarding any of the context materials, they can approach to the teacher via emails as well. So these are the experience that I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karishma. Now we have Mr. Sheetal Bhandari. He is the Associate Professor at School of Public Health at Patton Academy of Health Sciences. He will share his experience on using different online learning platforms at Patton Academy of Health Sciences. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Josna. Good evening to all of you. Basically, at Patton Academy of Health Sciences, we have started the online class around 2 months back. Initially, we started it with the postgraduate student, especially the public health student. The course was delivered using the Skype initially, because our senior faculty were very much comfortable with the Skype. So they used to send their materials before to the students, and then they used to have a discussion on that one. So slowly what happened is that we found that Skype is not a full-fledged this LMS package. So we have been using, for example, I had been using the Google Classroom for the past 10 years, since 2010. So slowly we moved to the Google Classroom. So there we could create our classes, we could create our assignments, we could even launch the practical classes, especially because I teach statistics and I use a lot of software, there I could do that. So that is where we started. And then around 1 month back, School of Medicine also started their course. It's a theory-based course we have started, not the practical one. So there we started using the Zoom. So it's a only video conferencing thing is there. So the currently discussion is how we can document, you know, whatever we are teaching. So the need was to use the LMS system like Dr. Purnima was telling. So in past, we have a Google Suite for Education, which we actually enrolled in that in 2010 when it was called GAFE. So we have a full-fledged package of Google Education now. So Google Classroom is one of the packages available to us. We use that a lot. We do a lot of classes. Now Google Meet has been added there. So what we can do is we can actually record the video and it comes to us in our Google Drive and we can actually share with the students. So basically we started with Skype initially, and then we actually gave all the materials beforehand. So when that thing started, so I also used the software that Dr. Purnima was telling, the OBS software. It's a very good software. Actually, we recorded a lot of video over there, because if you don't like the video that is coming out in the live session, I would strongly recommend all of us to use the OBS Studio, because there you can create your own video in your own leisure time and you can make your video very professional. So that is something I did with my class on disease modeling. And then I sent the video to the students, and then next day we had an extremely good discussion about that. So that is another option that is available to us. So I don't know much about the team and the Moodle because we have not used it, but Moodle personally, I have used it online, which is only available for the 49 or 50 students. But somebody was asking whether Moodle can be used to the institution. I think it can be used in the institution, but you need to have a strong IT backup, because the power you have with the Google Classroom is that you can do everything you want. You don't need IT support. But with the Moodle, you really need a lot of IT support. So I would say that uh, because if you, in health professional education, we have been talking that blended learning should be done. And if we have practiced that, then I think the transition would have been very easy, like it was easy for people like us. But if this is a special time, I know that, so it's a time where we need to do the online teaching. So activity based online teaching, the Dr. Purnima was telling, was very important. So like we know that every 10 to 15 minutes you have to have activity there, you have to engage your student. You don't talk whole 1 hour with your lecture over there without any graphics, without any animation. So, and then also give some break, snack break, tea break, have a different type of chat in between. So just engage your student and then make the learning fun, but also like make sure that they are learning. So in between have a quiz there. Google Forms can be used to create good quizzes over there. One thing that I really found limiting in Google Classroom is the inability to create the interactive PowerPoint like I could do with the Moodle. No, with the Scrum package, I could create so many things over there, which I cannot do in the Google Classroom. But overall, for the past 10 years, I have been using that one. So Google Classroom is free now. If you have a Gmail, Google Classroom is free to you. So you can use it for your personal use also, because I use that to teach my MBA students for Pokhara University, and it's working very well. The only thing that you cannot do with the Google Classroom, with the free Gmail account till now, is that you cannot record the video. That is the only limitation. But if you have an educational account for the Google Classroom, you can easily record and you can actually easily share with that your students. So I think 3 platforms we have been using: Skype initially, then we moved to that Zoom, and then now we have moved to the Google Meet, because it's a very easy to use. Zoom also I like it very much, but I prefer more the Google Meet with the Google Classroom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chittal sir. Now we open the session for question and answer. I can see a few questions on the Q&A. Basant Karn, he writes, is it compulsory to allow cookies? Purnima ma'am?
See, certain software expect that you keep the cookies open. So in that case, you would need to do, these are third-party applications. For example, Screencastify requires it. Not all applications. So you can actually run Zoom and all these applications without opening cookies. So yeah, so it is, if they've asked for it, then you are definitely compromising a little on your security. So cookies can be disabled. But if they're asking, then you would need to enable it.
Then another question which was there in the chat was, what are the different webinar applications for video conferencing? You have already talked about Meet, Teams, Zoom, but apart from that, are there any other such applications?
There are quite a few. There is a Cisco webinars also. There's a webinar applications. Yeah. So there are a few, but these are the ones that are more like popular, which we spoke about.
Then there is another question on the institutional Moodle. Sheetal sir has already highlighted on that. So maybe a little bit of elaboration on institutional Moodle. What are the advantages? What data analytics which can be utilized through these LMS?
Okay, Dr. Bhandari already has mentioned everything. I think he covered most of the points. So I can only say this, that yes, it requires computing power. You need to have an IT person to understand how to install the software on a server. It is available on a simple internet environment. It's a complete LMS environment. You can perform assessment. Now, like you said, analytics are very strong there. So what we use for is for assessment methods. So we design online placement questions and we do it. We get so we have 100 students, we do it in batches and we get the report. So generally we can make out what is the performance of each of the students. So those kind of analytics and other, basic analytics, so how many users, what is the usage, those patterns you'll get generic analytic information is definitely from Moodle. So you have to be an administrator. Yes, I think. You're muted.
I liked about this institutional Moodle is that there is a award system, that when your students actually perform very well, and there's a batches you can give, and then that's really motivates, because I was a student in one of the online session a long way back, and that really motivated me to get those batches.
All rewards and recognition, yes.
Yeah, I think like that thing you can have it, and then our students, as you know, they are very young, no? They really like those sort of things. Like Madam was saying that with the emojis also they like to play with that one. So this batches thing really motivated me, even myself. So I think that will, if we can have that one. I don't know if you have that in Doodle or not, but in Moodle, a very, very good thing that we can have.
In Doodle, we are yet to explore many things, but we are on the way. Yes.
One more thing that I talk about, maybe Dr. Purnima can highlight, is the Scrum package that we use a lot in the Moodle. Like it's an interactive PowerPoint session where we can have a built-in quizzes and a student can practice, and the score will come automatically in the screen automatically, and then we can actually set the tone. We can actually control the PowerPoint. In fact, that thing really I like it. So, but it's making that sort of PowerPoint is little bit tricky, but then can be done. But yes, SCORM, Scrum package, is one of the things that maybe we should be starting exploring about that. So Dr. Purnima, do you want to add something about that?
No, we have been using it, but see, again, it's on need-based options. So if you already have, like for us, we already have Teams. So when our students are available online, I don't need to now push them on a new platform. So the question is about, what is the option? What is the better option for me? So when they were in college, when we were actually working in our departments, face-to-face lectures, our laboratory sessions were more on the Moodle options, where we had impromptu sessions where we designed the questions and give them, and like you said, badges were given off on meeting. But right now, since we are doing most of it on the Teams platform, we are not using Moodle that much because the entire university is working on this platform. So again, it's choice based. So you want to use it, and these options are available.
Yes. So probably the last question. 3 best platforms for online evaluation, which can also be used for practical skill acquisition.
Okay, for practical, see, I come from the computer science background, so technology questions. For us, any background works as long as we give the query and they return the answer. It's all about implementation, coding. So what we do is we send the question, we ask them to share it on an online repository. We open it up. So we use GitHub. So we open up the application, we check the code. So even if he makes a change, the version will be reflecting. So we're able to make out whether the person has made any changes recently, and we can actually, there's a timestamp, so you can make out when they're doing it. So for us, I can do it either in Teams. Even Teams, we have used assignments. We have actually finished a whole cycle of assignments recently. Apart from that, okay, even you have assignments in Google Classrooms. I think they have very good assignment patterns in Google Classrooms. Then what else? Moodle. Again, Moodle has very good platform, yes.
Thank you very much. Now we also have our host, the organization NREN, who provided us this platform to conduct this webinar. So he would like to address the gathering. Niranjanji, the floor is yours now.
हजुर नमस्ते सबैजनालाई म हिराजन पराजुली नेपाल रिसर्च एन्ड एजुकेसन नेटवर्कबाट खास अब आज चाहिँ हजुरहरुको यो टपिक एकदम इन्ट्रेस्टिङ रहेछ लाइभ पनि गर्न पाएको भए हुन्थ्यो एनरेनबाट अलिकति मेरो टाइम पनि मिलेन अलि बिजी शेड्युल पर्यो अब यसमा चाहिँ हजुरहरुले यो आज मोडुल देखि लिएर अनलाइन कोर्सको बारेमा कुरा गर्नुभएको छ हैन अब यसमा एनरेनले चाहिँ अहिले काम गरिरहेको छ यो मोडुल भयो हैन जुन यो जुमको अब हामीसँग एजुकेशनल लाइसेन्स छ अहिले यो हामीले प्रोवाइड गरिरहेका छौं बीपी कोइराला हस्पिटललाई पनि हामीले एउटा लाइसेन्स दिएका छौं अब निकट भविष्यमै एनरेनको मेम्बर हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरु हामीले चाहिँ डेडिकेटेड हाई स्पिड नेटवर्क त्यहाँ पुर्याउँदै छौं यो 7 वटा प्रदेशमा एनरेनको रिसर्च नेटवर्क चाहिँ पुग्दै छ हामीले अहिले सर्वे सुरु गरेका छौं अब यसमा गभर्नमेन्टले पनि हामीलाई साथ दिन्छ र अब सबै हस्पिटलहरु कनेक्टेड हुन्छन् रिसर्च नेटवर्कबाट अहिले काठमाडौँ उपत्यका भरिका हस्पिटलहरु र धुलीखेल हस्पिटल काभ्रेमा जुन यो डेडिकेटेड हाई स्पिड नेटवर्कबाट कनेक्टेड छ अब अलिकति मैले एनरेनले अहिले गरिरहेको कामको बारेमा अलिकति बताउँछु यो हामीले अहिले यो सर्भिलेन्स सिस्टममा काम गरिरहेका छौं काठमाडौँ महानगरपालिकासँग सहकार्य गरेर जुन कोभिड-19 सर्भिलेन्स सिस्टम जुन मोबाइल एप्स को विधिबाट बिरामीलाई चाहिँ सुरक्षित तवरले चाहिँ हस्पिटलसम्म पुर्याउने एउटा जुन आईसीटी लाई प्रयोग गरेर हस्पिटलसम्म पुर्याउने यो विधि हामीले अहिले प्रयोग गरिरहेका छौं काठमाडौँ होल काठमाडौँ उपत्यका भरि र काभ्रे उपत्यका भरि काभ्रे पलाञ्चोकमा यो लागू भइसकेको छ अब यसमा चाहिँ अब अहिले निकै नै राम्रो फिडब्याक आएको छ हजुरहरुले पनि यो मोबाइल एप्स नेपाल कोभिड-19 सर्भिलेन्स सिस्टम डाउनलोड गरेर आफूले स्व मूल्याङ्कन गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ आफैले यो जुन विश्व स्वास्थ्य संगठनले दिएको जुन 14 वटा जुन लक्षणहरु छन् ती लक्षणहरु चाहिँ यसमा समावेश छन् र हामीले टिक लगाउँदै चेक गर्न सक्छौं तुरुन्तै अनि अहिले एनरेनले अर्को गरिराखेका भनेको अब यो जुमको अहिले हामीले काम गरिराखेका छौं यो जुमको जुन यो अहिले विषम परिस्थितिमा चाहिँ हामीले यो अनलाइन शिक्षालाई प्रभावकारी बनाउन हामीले जुमको लाइसेन्स प्रदान गरेका छौँ। अब युनिभर्सिटी कलेजहरू अहिले जो जति इन्ट्रेस्टेड हुनुहुन्छ नेपाल सरकारको इन्स्टिट्युट र हस्पिटलहरू उहाँहरूलाई हामीले निशुल्क रूपमा जुमको लाइसेन्स प्रदान गरेका छौँ। हस् अहिलेलाई यति नै भनौँला। हस् धन्यवाद म्याम।
धन्यवाद निराजनजी NREN को बारेमा हामीलाई अवगत गराइदिनु भयो। With this, I would like to thank the keynote resource person, Dr. Purnima Kundapur, our speaker, Sheetal Bhandari sir, and Dr. Karishma. It was a very interactive session. Many of the questions which we had in our minds have been answered, and we look forward to your guidance in the future too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening.